This lesson is Pythagorean theorem, solving legs. If you recall from a previous lesson, when we're using Pythagorean theorem, which states that c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared, we're using the area of the squares on each side of the triangle to help us solve for the hypotenuse. So now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what we do when we're solving for a leg. So for example, let's say we know this is 3 and we know this is 5, but we're not quite sure what the leg is. Let's think about what we did before. So before, we added our A and our B, we added those together to get our C. So if we know our total, our C squared is 25, and we know the area of this triangle is 9, which leaves us with the unknown value of b squared. So if we added them together to get our c, it makes sense now that we're actually going to subtract to figure out what one of our legs is. So in this case, here's a little algebra. So to make this side equal to b squared, we have to subtract 9 from this side, and what we do to one side, we do to the other, which leaves us about value of b squared equal to 16. And again, that's the area, which is what we have here. And to find the side length, we need to take the square root. B is equal to 4. And does that make sense? Well, let's have a look. If this is 4, B is 4, and A is 3, they need to be shorter than the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is 5. So yeah, that does make sense, that our hypotenuse would be 4. Let's look at another example. This example is saying we have a hypotenuse of 12 and a leg of 8. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're first going to label our triangle. So we know the right angle is here. Straight across from that is going to give us our C. And let's make our YA. And let's make our 8B. Okay, so we've labeled our triangle. Next, we want to write down the formula that we have. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Okay, we've got that done. Now sub in the values we know. So we know that 12 squared is equal to y squared plus 8 squared. Next thing we're going to do is solve. So first we have to square our numbers. 12 squared is 144 is equal to y squared plus 64. And bringing that algebra skill in, we're going to have to subtract. Leaving us with a value of y squared equal to 79. And we know that's the square, so we have to take the square root to figure out our side length, which gives us an answer of 8 and 9/10. Now let's see if that answer makes sense. So let's write it in here. And we have an 8 down here, 8.9 here, and a 12 here. So the legs are shorter than the hypotenuse. So yes, that makes sense. Another way to do this is we can just rearrange the formula to start off with. And because we know to get the hypotenuse, we have to add those together to solve for a leg. So let's say a squared. We're going to have to subtract, and we like to subtract the bigger number. Take away the smaller number. So you can use this formula when solving for a leg to save yourself a little bit of algebra from up here. Go try the practice questions and let me know if you need any help with those.